Cool, blimey, chaps. We seem to be in a wonderful world. It's there's toys in a million, all under one roof. I think we're in the 80s. It's Toys R Us, Toys R Us, Toys R Us, Toys R Us.
Best place to be, Toys R Us.
I think it was, yeah. So guys,
Jeffrey used to scare me when I was a kid. In the adverts, yeah, Jeffrey was. I think it was laid over from. I used to get really scared by Bullseye, and I don't know whether I made some sort of weird connection. Bully. I don't know if I made some weird connection between Bully and Jeffrey. I think it was in the eyes, the dead eyes.
We could have won. It's going to take me 2 minutes to count it, and all have a Bullseye quote that no one will know.
It was just when he came on, he went. I used to run behind the sofa. Anyway, sorry to sidetrack that. Jeffrey was very scary, though.
To be fair, I don't really know where I was going with it, guys.
Yeah, fine.
but apart from, I don't know who Jeffrey is, apart from
Jeffrey's the giraffe.
Jeffrey the giraffe.
In the Toys R Us.
No, and Jeffrey wasn't a rat. Jeffrey was a human.
To be fair,
George was his home.
I never actually went to Toys R Us when it was open. I've never been to one.
Yeah, but there wasn't a giraffe in Toys R Us, really. It was on the advert that you was just singing.
Hold on, back it up. Did you say you've never been to a Toys R Us?
No.
Are you
really
absolutely taking the mick?
There wasn't any near me where I grew up.
Oh my God.
You drive. You make a day of it.
Well, the last place my parents were going to drive me was a fucking Toys R Us.
Oh, I remember walking around Toys R Us when they were going out of business and buying the shit out of Lego. Yeah, at that point, yeah. Loads.
When we were 14, 6 of us used to get the train down to Southampton from Winchester, and it was right by the train station. And I used to carry 11 rucksacks, so I could fill it with like Star Wars toys and action films.
That you obviously had not purchased, yeah?
Well, I'm stealing from Toys R Us. Jeffrey was scary. I wouldn't want to mess with him.
Couldn't deal with the shame of stealing, definitely not.
No.
So yeah, right, Toys R Us, which you don't know, however, toys,
they did sell toys.
Old school toys.
Yeah.
It's Mount Rushmore time.
Yeah, so we were having a little chat affair, weren't we, chaps? And we thought a perfect way to spend our time in the TARDIS this week would be to talk about what was our Mount Rushmore, our favourite toys from our childhood. So, should we kick off with that, or do you want to do a quick bit of news and you've seen first?
Can I just ask? No, I'll talk about the toys in a minute. Can I just say, have you guys seen the Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania new trailer?
Yes.
MODOK.
Yeah.
Yeah, MODOK was in it.
But do you know who MODOK is? MODOK is Darren Cross, i.e. Yellow Jacket from the first film.
Is he?
Really?
Yeah, it's Corey Stoll. It's him. He's been announced. It's everything. He is MODOK.
So are they going to? So it's going to be the same character? You know?
Yeah, because he's been in the quantum realm in theory ever since the first Ant-Man film when he paid his regulator and sent him in there. Yeah, Super Shrunk. If you watch the trailer, and you have to, obviously only a nerd would have done this. If you slow the trailer right down and pause it, there's a scene where Kang and Ant-Man and Cassie are walking out onto like a balcony, obviously like over his army or something, and MODOK is drifting in behind them in his human phase, and then you've got the armoured face look when he's actually fighting, but that is Corey Stoll, i.e. Darren Cross, i.e. now MODOK.
I.e. bloke from Strain, who wore a wig for the first season. Okay, well, I mean, the trailer was out. I'm not that excited about the film.
No, I am.
Because I don't really like the quantum world.
Well, I haven't seen much of it yet, and I think you're taking a view that looks more like they forget you're in the quantum realm. It's size is relative, as I keep telling any female that listen, but it's more about the world and what it's going to bring
female
in.
Dwarfs.
This is the start of the dynasty. I think they'll just make you forget you're in the quantum realm that actually did a battle with Kang.
Yeah, I mean
Sorry, go on.
No, I just thought that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I felt a shift in tone, and I wonder if it was maybe due to the recent, like Thor maybe not doing as well as they'd hoped, and it being quite, being put down for being quite jokey and slapstick and silly. And from the first trailer, which was very much in that similar tone,
familiar with that,
completely changed to be like the tone of a Captain America trailer, or
Dark Knight Rises. The Ant-Man helmet is battered up.
Yeah.
He's bruised and bloodied, and it was vibes.
I mean, I'm trying to be excited, guys. The thing that I don't like about it, and it might just not be what it is. It's just what I've taken from it was like the whole Kang trying to tempt Ant-Man about, go back and we can sort out time. And I don't want to watch film if that's what it's about.
I agree. I don't think it will be. I just think that's a teaser to tell you roughly what the premise of the movie about.
If that's what the film is about a lot, that will put me right off. I
don't think that will be in any way what will happen. I don't think it will be I'm travelling back to do it, but it's not Back to the Future.
No, but not even that, as in I don't like the storyline of Scott being tempted to change things, because he wants to have more time with Cassie. That whole storyline, I do not like the idea of.
It depends what happens. I mean, she clearly looks like she comes out of prison at some point. Yeah. So she's adopted his ways, and maybe he blames himself for that, because obviously that's following the path that he went down. To be fair, you're probably coming from the good angle of I'm not expecting much, because as I do always say, don't go in thinking this is going to be the greatest thing you've ever seen in the world. And then if it is, then great. It's a win for you.
I think it's just setting up a story arc for Scott in the because I didn't feel like he had much of a story arc in the second one. They sort of dumbed him down. He was a guy with multiple PhDs, and he became a guy who needed Velcro shoes. Yeah. But in this one, I feel like it's giving him, it's giving him a bit of a story arc in that it shows that he's clearly quite weak, and in an emotional sense, quite naive, perhaps. And I think it's just going to be him learning. Yeah, vulnerable. It's just that's going to be the kicking off point that will probably finish halfway through the second act, where it's like, actually, I've unleashed something here, and it's all my fault, and I've got to, resolve it, with the help of my family.
You're quite right, Chris. I think that is the downside of a big connected shared universe, is that Ant-Man's second movie, they had no choice but to pigeonhole him to what he was. He was under house arrest, and that's because of what happened in Captain America the Winter Soldier. So that is the only trouble with having that shared universe like that. You find people sometimes at a point that maybe takes them away from what you'd expect to see from the second movie, or they ignore, it always bothered me that they never dealt with. At the end of Spider-Man Homecoming, Aunt May sees him in his costume. You get the and then the music cuts in, because he's then immediately in Avengers Infinity War. By the time you get to his second movie, they are years on from that, and she knows he's Spider-Man, she's happy with it, she accepts it. I'm fine, it moves the narrative on, but that's a conversation you want to see, because he was so adamant about she will never let me do this.
Yeah.
So that is the only thing I agree with you about the Ant-Man one like that, is that they couldn't do a lot with him in the second film because of where they left him after Civil War.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those, especially when it's in the middle of a phase. He's very much in point A, and we very much need him to be in point B by the end of the movie.
Absolutely.
And it shows no growth. It be so, unfortunately he's going to get no growth. No, absolutely shrinkage, not growth.
I can tell you're telling.
Anyway, so we got Ant-Man coming.
Well, Ant-Man's done.
Ant-Man's coming.
I can't take any more puns.
Exciting times. Chris, you got a rocker about the old Indiana Jones toys today.
Yeah, so just a quick download on the Indiana Jones announcement. We had my first ever live. What? Sorry, have I missed something?
No.
Whatever. Was it another pun? I can think of rock now. Anyway, I'll go back and listen to it when I'm editing. So it was just a really quick one that we had our first dedicated fan stream from Hasbro for the Indiana Jones Adventure Series line, and the rest of the line just quickly. They went through the kids' toys, the kids' play sets and stuff, which I won't be getting, but looked really cool. There was a lot of different bits and pieces, and they're all sort of focused on the new film as well, Dial of Destiny. So it's quite interesting to see some of the bits and pieces. But then they went into the adventure range and the adventure series, and they showed 3 retail exclusives that they'll be releasing. The first being the Club Obi-Wan Indy from Temple of Doom, in his white suit, and he looked awesome, I think, with lots of cool little accessories. The second will be Walter Donovan from The Last Crusade, who chose poorly. And the third will be Professor Indiana Jones from The Last Crusade as well. So it's some interesting. I really like the retail exclusives, and I have pre-ordered Club Obi-Wan, which came out today at midday. So that's all sorted. Then they talked about some of the range moving forward. So I think what they're going to do with Wave 2, but the sound of things, although they're not being really clear, is that sounds as though they're releasing some Temple figures and some Last Crusade figures for Wave 2. So whether they, I don't know, but that's kind of the way that they pitched it. But effectively, they're doing another indie, the iconic indie from Temple of Doom, which if anyone has seen Temple of Doom, the iconic indie for me is the indie that's about to cut the rope bridge at the end, where he's not got his jacket on, his shirt's ripped, and he's got his arms showing, and he's about to cut the rope bridge. So that they're making that indie, but they're also making zombie indie from halfway through the movie when he drinks the blood. And I'm like, it's just a shirtless Harrison Ford. There's nothing to it. But also, what I was saying to Paul off camera was, that's 3 Indiana Joneses just from Temple of Doom we've got so far. So we've got the Zombie Indie, Rope Bridge Indie, and Club Obi-Wan Indie. Although, thinking about it, there aren't that many iconic secondary characters from Temple of Doom that you could do.
Willie?
In figure form. There'll be a Willie. They've announced Short Round will be a figure. I think they accidentally...
Don't bite to it.
Don't bite
oh my God, guys, come on. I'm trying to get through this so that we can talk about the toys, but I keep thinking about his Willie. Basically what happened was they released the Club Obi-Wan on a number of fan sites in America, and they cocked up and actually released a list of some of the Temple of Doom range that they're bringing out instead of the 3 retail exclusive figures that they should have done. So they told one thing on the live stream yesterday and have now cocked up and released 2 other figures, which is Moraram, who is the villain from Temple of Doom, and Sean Connery's Henry Jones Sr. They're characters that we knew that we were going to get, really, if we've got any sense about it. But so that was it. So really, that was the range that they introduced. Some really, really cool looking figures. I just don't understand zombie indie. Makes no sense to me.
Well, I'll tell you what it is, without even knowing. It's Hasbro's strategy of reusing other molds from...
reusing the molds. Yeah, true.
Then suddenly create a whole new range of franchises to collect. I'm just looking now on the site. $24.99, that's not a bad price point, I think. It's 5 accessories with it as well for the Club Obi-Wan.
I got it for $22.99.
Excellent.
Yeah.
What do you make of the box? Because it's got the...
Hate it.
Yeah.
Hate it. When they open the boxes, it's all cardboard and paper.
That's what the Marvel Legends are now.
Awful.
That's what Marvel Legends are now. It's hateful. It's embarrassing.
And it is the same issues that you had with the Marvel ones, where it's not even proper images of the figure. It's like hand-drawn images that evoke like the posters from the movie. And I'm like, well, that's all well and good, but you want to know what you're getting in the box. And I hate the fact that what happens if the paint job on the eye is wonky, or there's
looking at the
that's
Dragons figures in the Nerdbase the other day, and like say that boxes are pictures of a cartoon. I'm like, well,
yeah,
no good, is it?
And I followed a couple of people on Insta this week, and they put on pictures. They've got like Bobby the Viking from Dungeons and Dragons, and in the box the head snapped off. And the actual ball joint is sheared off, so it's not even like it fell off in the box.
That's ridiculous.
It's sheared off, and that is the issue with it. And I said it a number of times. You could literally have the smallest possible plastic window on the front. It doesn't have to be plastic. You want to see the figure. You want to know what you're getting.
I still think the best thing I've seen so far is the way they did that Boba Fett Horde of Bounty Hunters one, where it had like the flap.
I just need a flap in them.
It's open, but it's tied up and you can't get to it. But
when I want my willy in a flap, when I get my willy, I want her in a flap.
Well, I know you like to have your willy on show.
Yeah.
Well, I do. I like to know what willy I'm getting before I buy it. You know.
And this is the 6-inch willy we're talking about, isn't it? Is that
the 3.75. I'm not interested in.
No. Well, the articulation.
I won't.
Paul has to convince people about that one. And like what you were saying earlier about the mixture of the different films in the one waves. I mean, that's a classic what they do with Black Series. You know, one wave will have from all over the shop. It'll have a character from Clone Wars, a character from 2 Obi-Wans, you know, that kind of thing.
We'll have to see, because they're talking about, you know, there's going to be a builder artifact or whatever, builder something in each series. So if they're going to mix the films, then how does that work? So we'll have to wait and see.
Buy them all.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's very true. Oh, and they also said there's another retail exclusive is going to be the Grail Knight from Raiders, from Last Crusade. So I'm excited about that one as well. Anyway, that's me done on Indie. Very excited. Can't wait.
Okay, the only thing I've got to say is Bad Batch is back. Watched the first 3 episodes. Bloody brilliant.
Is that cool?
Bloody brilliant.
Nice.
Episode 3, oh my God, so good. It was all about Cody. Who is, if you know, Cody's the clone that hangs around with Obi-Wan in Attack of the Clones.
Okay. Yeah. No, the name. Sorry, no, you said
that. And he obviously features a lot in the.
Yes, you called him Cody. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so that was all about him. So that was wicked, and him and Crosshairs. And I've seen the last episode of Willow, and I thought it was really good. I enjoyed it. It was super fun. And
that's a win for you then.
At the end, you see the book. They put the book. No, this isn't a spoiler. They put the book for Volume 1, and you can see
it killed him.
So,
we've been really disappointed with the Willow series so far.
I love it.
I found it. It is rubbish. Yeah, it's not like Willow,
but I love it.
Good. I'm glad you love it. I think every character is reprehensible. I don't like any of the characters.
Oh, I love them.
They're horrible people.
I love all of them.
Sounds like Reservoir Dogs.
I love Foreman.
Yeah, it is a bit like Reservoir Dogs.
Foreman's my favourite.
Who's that?
The big fella.
Ah, okay.
Anyway.
That's not Warwick Davis then.
No. He's probably
it's not the big fella.
He's the 3.75-inch retro figure.
He is the retro figure.
This is the 112.
Anyway,
right, carry on.
That's what's been happening this week.
Cool.
Let's talk about the meat in this fantastic episode.
Nerdy sandwich.
Let's talk about toys. Classic.
Yes.
So, Paul, your question earlier was, how have we chosen?
Yeah. So I got ridiculously excited on this, like overly excited, and I spent like 4 days just absolutely, because I've not been very well, and I've just been focusing on this as well. And so I started, my initial thing was like, Transformers, as an example, Transformers. And I was like, oh no, hold on, that's a whole range of Transformers. So is it that, or is it the spacesuit Action Man, A1 figure? So I've done both. I've
got a mixture of both, because to be fair, I couldn't. Some of it you just can't differentiate. No. But also the other thing, how I wasn't quite sure what we were going to do was, are we going to talk about specific toys that we've received, were given, or are we talking about just generally cool? So like, it might have been a cool toy, but I never had it or something.
Hey, it's your Mount Rushmore. Okay. You can put anyone on it that you want. I
will say, for me, I think for it to land on my Mount Rushmore, I'd probably had to have at least played with said toy for me to make that judgment. But what I will say is, I probably haven't. I've done it more as ranges of toys, and I can probably touch upon individual figures or sets from that. And I've tried to. What I was going to say before was that I've tried to. It's kind of a mix, and I would say that on my list is probably not all of the ones that I wanted to play, but I wanted some left field responses, so we're not all talking about the same few famous ranges.
I don't think we will. I think we will be to
maybe,
but I've got some really left field, and I'm a little bit older than you guys, so I've got some
Yeah, what is that thing you call? You know, the ball that falls into the egg cup on the piece of string. Is that on the list?
Game. Yeah,
I don't know. Is that what it is? I don't know. When you used to run around with a ball and a stick.
Yeah, it's the original Andy Pandy puppet on string. Muffin the Mule.
Fair enough. Can't wait.
I've got to get 8 down to 4 here. That's the thing.
Oh, is it only 4? Shit.
Yeah, Mount Rushmore. How many faces are on Mount Rushmore?
5. I put 5 on there.
Well, I've got 8 on my list, so I'll just go through them and see what happens.
The thing is, for me, particularly, is I don't think there's going to be any fucking surprises on mine. Mine is so obvious. I mean, it's because we're doing the top ones, we could talk about all the toys that we loved, but the top ones, you lot are not going to be surprised.
No. And they will probably be the same that are on my list. But
I number 1 might be my number 1.
Yeah, me too. But I've not put it on my list because I know you're going to cover it. Well, so I'm quite happy with that.
It would be interesting to see, because all 3 of us are slightly different age ranges. Like we miss, like for that really young age
generations.
Don't cross over. So it'd be interesting to see what we get. So who wants to go first?
Go on, then you're the captain.
Yeah, go for it, man.
Well, now, mind you, no, hold on. We've got 8 and you've got 5.
No, so I've got more than 5.
Oh, fine. Go on, then you go for it.
Right, so I'm going to start off with. So these are almost I guess in a way they're my favourite because they are the things I love the most, but because I was such, all of my toys got destroyed, and not a single one of my toys wasn't broken or had the fingers eaten by my sister.
Okay, so is that a combination of you destroyed them, like battle damaged X-Wings, or
I was just too rough with them,
natural selection.
I just lost bits. I think I broke every single toy I loved, but the 2/3 that I absolutely still kept, even though, and one of them particularly had no clothes and just had its head, but I still played with it pretending it had clothes, was the Meko, how do you say it? Cool.
Batman.
Batman, Robin, and Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
I had Superman as well.
Funny that I knew that straight away. It's almost like I'm looking at a list on the.
But Batman, Robin, and Spider-Man, those 3 toys were my absolute favourite fucking toys ever. And I'm swearing a lot today. I don't know why. I must be tired. But the Spider-Man, like that costume, got shredded very early on. I can remember that. And so Spider-Man mostly was like that one. You know the version where he has the bag on his head and he's got his pants on. Pretty much Spider-Man with his red head, red hands, and Action Man body, and little red pants. And then Batman and Robin, they were when I first got them, they were beautiful. They had really hard plastic boots. And the gloves were cool, like they had nice soft fabric grey, and like the cape was really nice, and it had the moulded heads, right? And over the years, I lost every single bit of it. I think I managed to keep, I remember for ages, my mum would put like a little clip to hold the costume on together.
Aww.
Completely knackered. And in the end, she made me a new Batman cape for it, because the cape went ages ago. And I said that the cape wasn't big enough, and so she made this massive cape that was way too big.
A Todd McFarlane cape.
Oh, it was rubbish, but it was lovely.
Yeah.
And so, I they were. I don't know anything about them. I haven't done any research on this. This is just pure memory.
Are you putting them? Obviously, they're on your Mount Rushmore. And are you putting them as one?
I think if I had to put one on there,
because we are talking about ranges here, aren't we?
It'd be the Batman one.
Yeah.
But if those,
I'm happy for that range to go on.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, even to be fair, the Robin one wasn't. It just Robin went really well with Batman. The Spider-Man and the Batman, I had them as long as possible. I had them so that like their arms were hanging loose because I pulled them so much, and they were cool.
Yeah.
But that's my first go.
Yeah. I'll just quickly add on then that they are on my Mount Rushmore, and it's the Batman, it's the Batman and Robin, and I had the Batmobile as well.
Oh wow!
Oh, I had that as well. Yeah, I bloody love that.
And they were
it's just a bit of plastic.
that's a bit of plastic, which was again another gorgeous thing of beauty. They were the first ever hot toys in terms of the soft goods. They were unbelievable. They were amazing. I actually loved them. Didn't shred mine. Did take the costumes off a few times, see what was going on underneath, but didn't shred the costumes. Did keep them. Didn't have the Spider-Man one. Didn't have the Spider-Man one because I'd asked for the Batman and Robin one. And obviously, when I was a kid growing up, we had to have a red telephone in our house because I insisted we had a red telephone in our house. That phone, that was everything. And,
that's awesome.
And at nursery at break time when we used to go in for our milk, me and my friend Ian Winkworth, there was a black cape and a yellow cape, and we used to hide them in the sting nettle bushes so no other kids could get them. So, and then we would risk getting stung. So after break, we could put them back on and play Batman and Robin again. So, so those two figures were amazing. Yeah, it was made by Mego, and they were on my Mount Rushmore. So I'm 100% with you on that one. Good start, Cardboard Colin.
Thank you.
He's excellent.
Christopher.
Well, I might as well start with my favourite range of toys from when I was a kid, and they are the Kenner Ghostbusters. Would you believe it?
You're so young.
Wow,
I am so young. So they came out in 1988.
Screw you.
Year before the sequel. And I was probably, I know how old I was. I was 3. So I probably started getting into them when I was 5. And if we're going to talk about maybe specifically sitting behind me, the firehouse, that is still a really impressive playset. It's massive. It's like 2 feet tall. It's massive. So that I've still got the original Stay Puft Marshmallow Man from when I was a king. Yeah, maybe I should. But I mean, anyway, for the purposes of the podcast, yeah, I've got the Marshmallow Man in the background, and I also have chewed off a lot of his fingers, so there are there are bits of fingers missing.
Is that
so I was very young when I got that. I probably was. It wasn't. It was really disappointing. So this range of figures, for me, I mean, I played with them all of the time, and acted out all of the films. The figures were fantastic, and you got little proton packs for all of them, and that fantastic little piece of plastic that came out of the neutrino one that used to spin round. And they just kept bringing out different waves of figures. So the fright features and the super fright features, and it had so many options for different ghosts and villains and stuff. So there was a massive range of it. And obviously it's something that I've started collecting again over the past year.
Yeah.
So I'm clearly really into it. But 100%, top of my Mount Rushmore, the George Washington of my Mount Rushmore would be the Kenner Ghostbusters. So I won't go into too much more on it because I've talked about it in detail before, but that would be my first pick.
Yay!
Yay!
Good pick. They were good. I do remember seeing those figures around. Younger kids in my block had those figures, so I do remember seeing them.
Yeah.
Good choice.
Oh, what have you got to talk about?
Right, I'll save my absolute number one. There's a couple that I'm on the fence with, and I am now getting into. So I'm going to talk about ranges next. So an honourable mention, excuse me, is the Secret Wars figures, which were made by Mattel in 1984, and they were the first real, at that age, Marvel superhero ones of that size. They were, I think they were 4.5, 5-inch figures. I think they were no articulation other than one arm went up, one leg went up, and the head moved. There's no, no waist, no torso, no twist. They came with these little Electroset type shiny, glittery. We know when you move them one way, you see a picture of Cap's face and then a shield, and that sort of glittery type material thing. And there's only 8, so there's only Captain America, Doctor Doom, Spider-Man, Wolverine, Magneto, Kang, Dr. Octopus. That was it. But they were created for the Secret Wars comic book, which we were able to get in the UK.
Nice diverse selection of figures as well.
Yeah, it was really diverse, actually. They so close, they made it. My kids still play with the Spider-Man now, the original one. That's nearly 40 years old, 39 years old. They still play with that figure. And then the next wave, there was a Falcon and a Hobgoblin and a Black Suit Spider-Man and a Bounce Email, and they still play with them as well. And a Constrictor, randomly, so they play with those now. So they are on the edge. They were the honourable mention, but they're out. They're not putting them in. But around that time, just after that, what is going on with Mount Rushmore, number 2, is what was originally called Action Force, but more popularly known as G.I. Joe. And I'm putting the whole range in because they are the little 3.75s, and they were at that time, they were the figures. They were, more articulated than anything we'd seen with the Star Wars range at that time. Before that, they had, elbows that bent and knees that bent. They had backpacks, they had guns, and they were like 13 in the first wave. And then as the comic books got more characters in, they went, crazy with your Serpenters and your Dr. Mindbenders and your Crimson Guards and all that, and ended up with about 100 odd figures. I had almost all of them, and it was only the fact that when it got to like 1990 and I was 18, and I obviously wasn't buying as many toys at that stage because I was smoking and having sex, that I stopped collecting them. But for that whole range,
you should have got your checked out if you were smoking when you were having sex.
I should have checked out, absolutely, yeah.
You're a really rebellious 13-year-old, aren't you?
Just friction.
If it starts smoking, you should worry.
If it does start smoking, yeah, I had to just slow down a little bit. Just overheating. There's a cream you can get for that. But that range, but now I can't pick one particular figure. Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow are V figures, but I can't separate any.
I never bought any Action Force figures. My mate Beavis, he liked Action Force. He used to get them. Obviously, I had Star Wars. But I remember, and I think how I got into this must have been through the Transformers comic when it combined with Action Force.
Yeah.
And they were doing, I think it was some kind of, either like you would join the fan club or it was a mail away or something. And it was a character with a mask on. And it was supposed to be you. So you applied to get this figure, mail away for this figure.
It was a mail one through the magazine.
Yeah, and like so I did that, and I had that figure, and that figure was wicked. It was so cool because it was just like, because it had a mask and all that. I'll talk about my other favourite one in a minute, but because it was a masked character and it was, and supposedly it was me, but obviously it was the same figure everyone got.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
But it was so cool, and I liked the look of Action Force from afar, but I never collected them. So
yeah, and they were the best boxes, the best artwork. They looked amazing, and they were just so cool. So so there you go. That's my number 2 on my marathon. Just the range of. Yeah. I think you have to call it G.I. Joe really, because everyone knows as G.I. Joe.
Obviously,
it started.
Go Joe.
Fine, Action Force. Go Force.
Okay, my turn again now. Right, so I guess I'm really sort of talking about mine in order of when I've had them, I think. So I'm going to go to Star Wars. Right, this is no
shock on my face.
So, and when I did Star Wars Conversation with Joe, we talked a lot about Star Wars toys, and we talked about all our favourites from when we were kids and all that stuff. But so I'm not going to go into it in massive detail because I could literally spend hours talking about Star Wars figures and vehicles and all the kind of things.
Yeah.
But the things that really pop out in my mind, and this goes back to, what personal gifts you got, that kind of thing. The 3 vehicles, right? The first ever vehicle I got and the first set of figures I got were Snowspeeder and a collection of whatever the wave was for Empire Strikes Back. It was a Snow Trooper and Chewbacca was in it. There was a couple of them. And so I got that as I can't remember if it was a birthday or Christmas. I honestly can't remember. All I know is I got it and I was like, bloody hell, because I'd just seen the 2 films in a row. And that was amazing. And then the 2 other vehicles that, absolutely blew my mind, I remember getting was the AT-AT and obviously the Millennium Falcon.
The AT-AT.
The AT-AT, I think, is probably the best toy ever.
Yeah.
It was
Even now.
It was just so cool. It was just such a brilliant ship, and so unique. It was, endless fun with it. And
so unique, and it appeared on screen, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was amazing.
And my sister got to take it for walks, so it doubled up as a toy dog. It was.
I love that.
It was.
The irony now that if any of your family or relatives or friends tried to lean into the dog and touch a figure, you would windmill them out of the room straight away.
Honestly, no wonder, literally, you had like those, the almost like glass type plastic lighted up guns underneath. They would gone within about a day.
Yeah.
Chewed off. The bit inside broke that he twisted the end round. You name it, it got broke on there.
But the amount of love you got out of it.
Yeah, that's what they were for, weren't they? That's exactly.
Yeah, it was a toy. You were a kid.
Yeah, my living room was like Jakku. You know what I mean? It was like a graveyard of ships.
That's a great analogy.
But the other thing, obviously, I loved all the figures, and again, I could spend hours talking about my favourite figures from the original range. The one figure that I just thought was the coolest, and I've talked about this on Star Wars Conversations before, was the Death Star Gunner, because he all in black. He had like the funny black helmet with a red little visor. And to be honest, I couldn't remember him from the film. All I thought was, this is the coolest figure ever, because he just looked like some kind of ninja-y thingy. And I just loved that bloody figure. I just thought it was so cool. Yeah. But
so
I think
you're putting the figure on or the range?
I'm putting the range on. I think the AT-AT would go on there, if anything. The AT-AT would be the representation of the range on there.
Okay.
It's really difficult to Photoshop into the thumbnail, but we'll give it a go.
The Boba Fett figure, I just got to quickly mention that. And it was just so amazing. Cool figure. So Star Wars.
Cool. Chris,
excellent. Nice. So I'm just, I won't stay long on this one, but
stay as long as you want.
If I'm gonna go on to, like, if I'm gonna keep up with putting my absolute favourites on, so I'm gonna list a range that I think is probably considered to be one of the most successful toy ranges of all time. Maybe a little bit after your time again. Absolutely. No, Cindy. Whatever happened to Cindy? It's the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. TNT. Exactly. What was that grown for?
No.
It's not your Mount Rushmore.
No. I was just thinking of the poor parents that was trying to buy those bloody figures.
Oh,
they
my
were
God,
always sold out. They were impossible.
They were at the time, weren't they?
Yeah.
The Ninja Turtles, I remember having the four Turtles and having Bebop and Rocksteady and having Shredder and Krang and all that. But I don't really remember exactly everything I had. I just remember playing with them all the time and having them fight the Ghostbusters or working together with the Ghostbusters to fight Shredder or, the Stay Puft.
When you went to get your Turtles toys, did they go Egon?
Oh dear. Let me just mark that to cut that out. That joke will be gone by the time I edit this episode. God's sake.
Donatello.
No. I beg of you.
Right. So one of the things that when you were talking about. Oh my God! I don't interrupt yours. I let you wax lyrically about the romantic love that you had for a mechanical cat, and I don't say anything about it.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ!
The floor.
I am. Tell you what, for your next one, I am nothing but puns. I'm pun master for the next one. Anyway, so what you were talking about before about how that the AT-AT would break and there were bits and pieces missing. I have vivid memories of, with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they all had the same, like, brown swords and brown, like, size and staffs, because they were all made from that same, like, brown plastic, and they all came on a little, like, sheet, and you would pop them out with some ninja stars and stuff. But I always remember breaking them, and vividly remember my mum, like, putting them together over the hob. So I don't know if you guys have ever got those memories of like,
customizer.
Yeah, it's just she would burn one end of the plastic and then like fuse it to the other one, melt it together. So I've got memories of my mum doing that a lot for like my Ninja Turtles.
Did you complete the whole range? How many were there?
No, I didn't complete the range. There was so many with the Ninja Turtles. Like even before, I mean, I know now that they've expanded the range considerably, but even at that time, it was a juggernaut. Like there was so many different figures. I remember having one or two of each range, but not having the full set because there'd probably be like 10 or 12 figures every year. But I remember having ones where they transformed from a turtle into a Ninja Turtle. So you'd got the mutated and post-mutated Ninja Turtle and stuff like that. Because there were a lot of ranges of toys that were in like the early 90s, dabbling in that, the Transformers versions of figures. There was always like a Transformer range of different things. So yeah, that was it for me really. The Ninja Turtles, whereas I don't collect them now or anything like that, I wish I had the money to, because there is so much on offer. Even when you go into Nerdbase, some of them are, fantastic, like Raphael as Frankenstein's monster from like the Universal Monsters. So many good ones.
Business now. So many. I've been watching a load of different toy collectors over sort of early Christmas and New Year, because they've all been putting out their top 10s, and I've even been watching these that aren't Marvel, watching loads of different ones, and because I just obviously love looking at toys and action figures, and oh my god, the NECA turtle range, it's about 20,000. It's just massive.
They look great.
It's so fantastic.
I do. Like they've got this cartoony look to them, like they're out of a cartoon. They've got that. It's almost like a map, but the color scheme to them just looks, it pops. Yeah. They look great. If I could collect them, I would. But it's a rabbit hole that I'm too scared to go down.
They look like they're made by people.
A sewer hole, perhaps.
Sewer hole, a sewer hole, but they look like they're made by people that love them. It's a real passion.
I completely agree. So it's alive and well, more so than other than Star Wars, probably more so than a lot. Star Wars and Marvel, really. But a range that's been around for a long time and is still pumping out figures. Anyway, that's me. Ninja Turtles.
Good choice. Good choice. Totally rad.
Cowabunga,
dude.
Paul, give us another one.
Okay, so I'll do I'll leave it. I'll come back to you. So my number 3, you won't know this at all. It'll be amazing if you know this one. But it was so loved by me. They're nearly my number 1, but just edged out. Is there was a range of figures, based on the Lone Ranger.
Okay.
They were made by Gabriel, the company. Never heard of them again. They were Lone Ranger, Tonto, Butch Cavendish, and Red Sleeves, one of Tonto's friends, and another Ranger soldier that I can't remember his name now. They were soft goods. They were like the Batman and the Robin and Spider-Man ones. They were soft goods. They were the same sort of size. They came with their horses. The Lone Ranger came with Silver. Tonto came with Scout. And they were... I just loved them so much. They never, ever, until the Batman and Robin ones came along, they never left my side. I loved the Lone Ranger as a kid. Loved the Lone Ranger story. Loved the whole light blue, double denim, obviously, because it was highly fashionable at that time, with the red scarf on his neck and the mask and the white hat and the whole legend behind it. And there was they were giant boxes because they come with a horse, so they were sort of 8-9 inch.
A real horse, a massive box.
Came with a real horse, a massive box, in a horse box. Didn't have room in the garden for them, so I had to kill them and eat them. But I'd
have eaten the fingers off them for you.
I'll put a picture in our group chat, which is no good for anybody that is listening along to this. But so there is Lone Ranger, and there's Tonto, and they were so good, and I just played the shit out of them. And they came in the box.
Awesome looking figures.
They came with a comic book. as well. And
that's brilliant.
In each of the boxes. So there's a different story in the Tonto one, different story in the Lone Ranger one, different story in the Butch Cavendish one.
Brilliant.
And it was a one and done adventure in each one, about 16 pages probably, and black and white though, but the artwork was great, and they were amazing. I was love those. There's been
so cool.
The nostalgia of this week, when looking at these, was thinking, if I could find them somewhere, I'd probably buy them, but they would be ridiculous amount. So they go on they will be very niche, I think, but again, a bit older than you guys. And these were around the same time as the sort of Star Wars figures were here. Actually, a little bit before these, the Star Wars figures, and a little bit before these. So these were my lovely. So they nearly made my number one, but I've just edged something out. So that is my number 3, or number 2 actually. So that is my second highest.
Very cool.
Very cool. Love it.
Very cool, Kimasabi.
Yes, Kimasabi.
No, I like that, mate. That's very cool. I have never, ever even watched a Lone Ranger episode. I don't know anything about it. I know what it is.
Me neither.
Oh, great. There was a film back in the...
recent one, right?
No, don't watch it when you get one. It's horrendous. But there was Army Hammer.
Army Hammer or something?
Obviously, he's a psycho. But there was... a film done in the Clayton Spilsberg was the Lone Ranger in it, and it was I think in the 80s. I found it on Amazon. I bought it immediately, so it's in my stuff to watch now. And the Legend of the Lone Ranger, and Butch Cavendish in the movie is Christopher Lloyd.
Wow,
and he's
that's awesome.
Psychopathically evil. He is amazing. He is a proper unhinged psychopath in it. Is Butch Cavendish. It's phenomenal. He's like Heath Ledger, Joker intense on it. It's brilliant.
Wow.
There you go.
That sounds amazing.
Well, maybe that is definitely one to put on that.
You'll probably find a clip of him on YouTube somewhere.
What were we going to call it when we watched the film we haven't seen?
Oh yeah, the I May Have Missed It movie.
Yeah.
I might have missed it.
I love that. We might have to sit and watch that with you then.
Future episode coming up.
There you go. So there you go. Cool. So yes, there you go. That's my
nice.
My number 3, but in terms of hierarchy, my number 2.
Okay. Is it worth me doing my next one? Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, no.
Just have 3.
No.
Pun me up. How many have I done?
This will be your 3rd.
Yeah.
Cool. Pun me up, Chris.
I will do. No, well, I won't because I'm too nice. But
you are too nice, but screw in. Just do it.
Okay.
Come on.
So,
what is it?
As a range, I've got to talk about Transformers. I bloody love them. I absolutely love the Transformers. I was in love with the cartoon. I think, and really the only time we got to watch it was in bloody Timmy Mallett's section of whatever that was.
Yeah. Wide Awake Club.
And they literally just cut it up, and you get drip-fed parts of the episode over days. Yeah. It was so annoying.
Like 10 years ago, I bought my brother all the DVDs of the original cartoons. Like,
I've got all of them. I found them in a charity shop recently.
Amazing,
I've got all of them. But you would drip-fed them, and it was just so painful because it was so easy to miss because you didn't know what time they were going to come on in the show.
Oh yeah.
It was horrible. And a lot of children's TV did that when I was younger. It was so annoying. Like Batman was in the middle of going like. Anyway, Transformers was amazing. The toy range was particularly the first lot. I mean, because it's obviously a toy range that was an amalgamation of different Japanese toys that they put in the range. The toys were just beautiful, and some of them were like metal-y type things, but the ones that particularly stand out, obviously Optimus Prime, such a cool figure. The original Optimus Prime was amazing. Snarl is one of my favourite figures ever. I've got both of them still.
I know you still got him, haven't you?
Yeah. Yeah. A weird little story, Megatron. I broke him as soon as I got him, trying to transform him, and snapped his back of his head off.
Oh God, no.
And my mum made me write a letter to whoever the toy was.
Hasbro, yes, Hasbro.
Yeah. And I wrote a letter to them, and they sent me a new one.
Did they? Good. They'll do it now, tight fuckers.
I know they wouldn't, but I wrote them a letter saying I broke my toy.
Oh, that's so cute.
And
but customer service in those days was probably just one man called Alan, wasn't it, working in a warehouse. When he got your letter and sent it out.
Was so breakable. I broke so many of them. Jazz, I remember I pulled the back of his head off. Like, on the back of his head was attached, like, part of the the windscreen.
I pulled a door off on prowl. No, I pulled a door off prowl because he had to open doors.
All the doors came off Sideswipe. But, I mean, look, all those figures were brilliant. Most of them I loved because of the cartoon and because of the comic. The comic was, but there were so many good ones, but particularly, I had to choose two. Primes, they were the best.
The range itself, though, is such an inherently cool range of toys. Like, there aren't many ranges of toys that are as cool as that. And there's probably so many kids that owned and played with Transformers that might not even have seen the cartoon or the movie that were out at the time, just because they were so cool. The mechanic of transforming was epic, and it just combined robots and cool cars, and that was what made it so appealing to kids at the time. I loved Transformers, and I think that's later on because you remember the Power Rangers toys being incredibly popular as well. The Megazord. It was that kind of tactile transformation that really appeals to kids, because I remember that being really popular.
When you think about the cartoons, particularly of my age range, they all had some kind of transformation sequence, and that was the bit that you loved about it. Whether it was G-Force, or whether it's He-Man, or whether it was Centurions, Thundercats, all of them had that moment where you stick your hand up and you do that and you do, and something happens and cool music.
Transformer toys, it was the fact that you could do what they did in the comic and the program. Like, your Superman figure doesn't fly, you have to hold it.
Yeah. But,
if you put one of your, underwater figures in the bath, it gets soaked and then you can't play with it for ages. But the Transformer did what it did in the program and in the thing. You could do exactly that properly. So I think it was that whole new dimension to it.
Sorry, I think probably one of the best figures out of Transformers, I just completely forgotten blank, but actually it is probably the best, Soundwave. It was so clever the way it was done. Like, his cannons were the batteries. You had the cassette characters as well. Yeah. It was just so perfectly made. It was just a brilliant piece of technology.
One of my friends, he lives next door to my Graham. He collected everything: Star Wars, G.I. Joes, Transformers, a lot. And he was very lucky that his dad took him to America fairly regularly, or his dad went to America on business and brought him back the stuff that you couldn't get in the UK yet.
Like Blaster.
He came back and he bought him Shockwave and the Constructicons. And you couldn't get them. You couldn't get them. You just couldn't get them. They never appeared in the UK, and I was so excited. Shockwave's one of my favourite characters, and I wanted to get them.
There were so many characters that were in the cartoon that weren't available here, like Jetfire, Scorponok, I think, and there was quite a few. And what also was quite good about the range is it did evolve. Even just in the first wave, like what they call Generation 1, you've got Headmasters, Powermasters,
right. And you've got the Beastmasters,
and you've got the triple changes, and you've got the ones, like I say, all these different ones that combiners, and you even got Pretenders in the end, where they were in these human shells pretending.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, it was a lot to it. I mean, the quality of them definitely went low, I think, as they started becoming made for the range.
They're made for the. You're right. They're made for the range, and
existing toys.
It was either the robot was awesome, or whatever it transformed into was awesome. But turning that into a toy didn't come off. Couldn't you? I mean,
it just served an end, didn't it?
Yeah.
Where I think they lost it was when they started trying to turn them into ships and robots and vehicles, futuristic ones.
Do you know what?
It just didn't talk to what like. They looked so brilliant that they were turning into things that actually were now. And then when they started turning, you just lost all
Two of my favourite characters ever was Ultra Magnus and Galvatron. And the Ultra Magnus toy was amazing because it was Optimus Prime in white, and it came with the trailer.
Mega thing.
Into the trailer and made him awesome. But the Galvatron one is exactly what you just said, Colin. It was this purpley, futuristic space gun that looked crap. look rubbish. But I've got a slight lament for Transformers because tomorrow is the last day the online Transformers Forged to Fight game is shutting down. They're shutting down all the servers tomorrow. It's the end of the game. And I've got almost every character from my childhood, and they look like it's like a Marvel Contest of Champions, just a 1v1 beat 'em up game. But I've managed to get every old school Transformer from back in the day, and the game shuts tomorrow at the end of the game. So I've got them all at highest levels of power. Anyway, it's light side.
Oh well, play Marvel Snappers then.
Oh my god, did you see that's the top rated game for 2022?
Yeah.
Of course you did. It comes up when you
Not surprised.
Okay, so that's Transformers.
Great choice.
Yeah, cool.
Who's next, Chris?
Yeah, so, I mean, on my Mount Rushmore would be some that you've already mentioned, especially like Star Wars toys. So I'm going to try and go off on a little bit of a tangent with some other toys that perhaps might not make my list, might be scrabbling around at the bottom of the mountain, but I just want to shed some light on because, it filled me with joy writing this list of other toys and bits and pieces. I want to I'll go through them quickly, but I want to briefly mention Subutio as being a toy that I played a lot as a kid. And I would say, in fact, I probably spent as much time building my formation as I did. I didn't really have anyone to play it with. My dad brilliantly got the Subutio pitch and glued it to a plywood, piece, bit of whatever.
We got a new kitchen table, and my dad cut the legs off the old one.
Oh, amazing!
And he did exactly that. He glued it onto the table, and I kept it behind my wardrobe, propped it up, and then I put it on the new table to play with it.
Oh, it's the best.
Chris.
And so my dad bought me an initial starter set, and it had 2 blue teams, 2 red teams in it, the referee, balls, goals, and the pitch. And I used to play it so often, but all I have in my memory, all I have of it is putting the board on the table and setting up all of my men and, into their formations and getting them ready, and then kind of going around the house and being like, do you want to play Subutio with me? And everyone's like, no, I'm too busy, fuck off, I don't want to play that stupid football game.
Did you flick or did you push?
I was happy doing both. I felt that there was a time for a flick, and then there was a time for a tad more finesse. In my, you want to pass in range when you're, the early 90s.
Sometimes if you're playing
United,
Watford, for example, Graham Taylor Watford, you need the long ball to the end of the table.
Absolutely. And if I'm Kanchelskis, I really want to flick because I'm bombing down that right wing. But then, I'm slipping it to Hughes, and he might just want to tap it into the bottom corner. So, I'm going to move on here because Colin's eyes have glazed over.
Screw him, I don't care.
I just
getting the new one when the new season kits came out. Seeing the Subutio on the shelf, the new kit is like a new toy. It's like seeing the next wave.
It was like a new toy. It was unashamed cash grabbing. But I lapped it up getting the new United kit every year. Yeah. Do you remember? I just wanted to touch on. Do you remember the game that came out after Subutio, and I was too old for it? It was like Super Sport Soccer or whatever.
Yeah, and you put the ball in the little.
The ball sort of clicked into it, and that you press down on the player to shoot him out. Anyway, that's me, and that's what I wanted to talk about with Subutio. But I just thought a bit of left field, and that's a pun, intentional. Subutio. Colin is visibly yawning at the talk of football, so I will. I will cede my time to Paul.
Colin, fucking Subutio is brilliant.
My TARDIS.
Subutio was good, wasn't it?
What
it was good,
choice, man.
Thank you. Right. Anyway, carry on. It was you, Paul.
Oh yeah, I'm so sorry about Subutio. I forgot it was me. So my last one is it's exactly what Colin did about the range, which is Star Wars. Because again, 5 when the first Star Wars came out, so it's right in my era, and I had all the figures, even the mail away for Dengar and all those sorts of things as well. Yeah, Emperor. So I had every single one, but my Mount Rushmore is the Millennium Falcon itself, and that's my number one, and that's there partly to say thank you to my mum because she queued the entire December the 23rd at Winchester Debenhams with about 11, like every single person in Winchester, it seemed, queued like 9 times around the block to get into Debenhams to get their latest batch of deliveries that came in so I could have the Millennium Falcon for Christmas. So as a thank you for that one, but that toy, that was for me then, that was the biggest, I had that Batmobile with the Batman, but that was it. You could hold it on the handle underneath when you fly it around, so you didn't have to put your hands on the side of it, and the back came off with the chess table and the cockpit and all that thing. It was just chef's kiss. So, and even now,
the training ball,
and even now, I think even most Star Wars fans, anytime I see the Millennium Falcon, it's the same as seeing a Dalek on anything. It's like, it's that little, whiz of nostalgia, no matter what it's.
I get to look at it every day.
You do, don't you? I liked it best in The Last Jedi because I think that's the best of all the Star Wars films. So I quite liked it in there, and I think that's an excellent movie.
Hasn't got the right radar dish.
I would say Return of the Jedi was probably the best for spunking out toys as well. It was very, very marketable, that movie.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because
it had 5? Yeah, you had Bespin, and you had Hoth, and then you had Dagobah,
and Naboo.
You had everything, didn't you? And yeah, it was so good, so good. And Darth Vader was just utter badass, and you had all the bounty hunters, didn't you? A lot. So yeah, so I don't need to say much more on that one because you expertly covered the Star Wars range, but for me, it's the Millennium Falcon.
Nice,
nice one.
Great choice. Great toy.
Okay, right. So this is it. Because this is it, I have got a fourth one to go on Mount Rushmore, but I'm going to give you my other
honourable mentions.
Honourable mentions. Yeah. So I'm just going to quickly go through them. Astro Wars. Remember that?
No.
I'm going to send you it on the group. And actually, there's one being sold for £750. £750 doesn't even work. It's like a little like a handheld game, like electronic game. Like Grandstand. I was addicted to it. I got the score so high it went over the number of zeros there were. I literally.
Is that your only sporting success?
Yeah. Well, it's not sporting. It was basically a bit like Asteroids, but basically you're in a ship and you've got to shoot through and just fly through. It was just there was nothing to it. Obviously, if I could play it, it was easy. But I bloody played the hell out of that game. So that was cool. It was like a little silver box, like a square box.
I remember seeing it, yeah, now you say that.
Type thing. Right, what else? The He-Man range, I was probably getting to be a little bit too old.
Yeah, I was too old. My brother had those.
Still bought them because they were cool. The particular one that I loved, Stratos, I don't know why, I just love that figure. I think it's probably because he was a cool Birdman with wings.
Can I just come in on that before you go? I just wanted to. I've got He-Man written down on my list as well, and now He-Man. I was a bit in between because He-Man kind of ended as I was sort of watching cartoons. There's repeats and stuff. Do you remember the New Adventures of He-Man coming out?
Yes,
where it was terrible, but I loved it because I was a kid and my brother loved it, and I remember actually having more of the New Adventures of He-Man toys than Asda were doing the whole range, and they cleared them out for 49p. I remember 49p a toy, so I just got the whole range for like £4. Anyway, that was it on the He-Man.
Yeah, I mean, the He-Man had several reattempts and several waves. They, and like when She-Ra came out, they brought all the Horde and brought that into the He-Man range, really. There was a She-Ra range, but obviously boys would not dare buy a She-Ra toy, so they brought all the villains out in the He-Man packaging. And also when the film came out, they had another wave of figures, but basically it was dying a death by then. So, but anyway, yeah, He-Man film.
Well,
Momentum.
toys were dying a death then, really, weren't they? Because it was all becoming about video games, wasn't it, at that stage?
Yeah, it was. It was a weird time. So there was that. We've talked about this before on this show. The $6 Million Man Lee Majors toy was a weird ass figure that I had. It's like Action Man size, as that is, and it basically had a red jumpsuit. He had an eye, right, and you could look in the back of his head through the eye, and so it's almost like a telescope looking through his eye. To give you his vision.
Yeah.
His arm, this weirdest thing, was a robot arm, but he had skin, like fake skin on, and you rolled the skin up like a big foreskin. And it would reveal his arm, his robot arm. That was weird.
Mine looks like an arm if you reveal my foreskin, but that's a different matter.
Yeah, mine's a 5 skin.
Five skin. But yeah, that was a weird toy, but one I had and played with a lot for some reason. And then, just vehicles, just very quickly, like the James Bond, fixed cars. They were brilliant to play with. The Aston Martin and the one in the white one that turns into a boat thing, whatever that is.
Lotus Esprit.
The Captain Scarlet vehicle that goes backwards when he's in it. I don't know what it's even called, but I had that and I played with that loads. But the best vehicles ever, toy vehicles, were and I don't know what size range it is, Paul, you'll know these, the Batmobile with the Bat boat, and you could also get the cycle in the same range.
Yes.
That 66 Batman.
Yeah.
That range, and like the Batmobile, it had you pressed a button and a bloody blade came out.
Yeah.
And also you could put matchsticks in the
fire them.
in the thing and fire them out. I mean, it was a health and safety nightmare, that toy, but I loved it. But here's what's going to go on Mount Rushmore, and this is a very, very personal choice, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So we mentioned Action Man
Barbie.
before, the old Action Man figures.
Yeah.
They were cool. I mean, I played with them a lot. Like I say, my sister, the spiteful cow, every single one's fingers off, so I can put any guns in her hands. So annoying.
Surely the Geneva Convention would mean that she should be tried at The Hague for war crimes.
Cool. And I never actually bought them myself, but I think what happened was my mum must have got them given to her, because I had a shitload of it, and like vehicles and stuff. And anyway, I would never have chosen them, but I had them, so I played with them. But where I'm going here is my nan, my wonderful nan, right, watched Blue Peter, right? And on Blue Peter, they had, like they do, like making things. Like they famously made Tracy Island.
Yeah.
They said, "Do you want a Banana Man toy?" and they showed you how to make a Banana Man costume that fitted an Action Man, and it involved using blue Velcro stuff. And
Walker's Crisps packets.
No, a rubber glove, a yellow rubber glove cut up, and to make his feet, his boots, and his gloves and his cape. Yeah. And I remember watching it with my nan.
Tell me you got a picture of it somewhere.
Literally about a week later, I had this fucking banana. And it was, to be honest, it was really good. It was really, she did a brilliant job. I don't know how she made the costume so well. But
that is brilliant.
It was brilliant. It was brilliant. I mean, Banana Man I loved the cartoon, to be honest. It was fun. I mean, I don't think I never ever saw a real Banana Man toy. I don't know if they ever made them.
I don't know if it existed, did they?
But I mean, this was...
That is amazing.
And it can't... Obviously, I just very quickly tried to do the Google to see if I could find a picture of anyone else ever made one, because obviously I've got no pictures of them, but... I was
literally Googling it right now.
I saw you going to the phone quiz. I thought, well, he's obviously looking at what we both look at.
It was amazing. But if you can just imagine, like, cutting off the fingers of a rubber glove and turning that into a boot with a elastic band around it to make, like fraying it so it looked like the banana skins.
That's amazing.
It was clever, to be fair, but Yeah, it was cool. It was a cool toy.
That is a great unique one because it is unique and it's not one. Yeah, my mum made me all the. Do you remember the Garden Gang books?
Yeah.
My mum made me a Mark Marrow and an Oliver Onion. And she made me
a Marrow for herself.
She just bought them from the shop.
Yeah, and she made me a Dusty Bin.
Sweet, that's nice. 3-1.
Yeah, 3-1. Yeah, that's a great one. There, that's a brilliant one to choose. Though you're managing that. Good, well done, Nan.
I love that.
Well done, Nan.
Good old Nan.
Excellent work.
All right, so that is mine. Thank you, guys. Chris, come on.
Right, so I'll run through a couple of the honourable mentions. It is technically video games, but the Game Boy was massive for me in the 90s. It is a toy. I know it's not the action figure like we've been going on about.
We're not arguing.
No, it counts.
But no, Game Boy for me was huge at the time. I'm warming and over two, but your talk then about your four figures pushed one of them over the edge. So I'm not going to put Lego on my list, although I think Lego should be close to everyone's list somewhere. You know, everyone's had some interaction with Lego. Colin, your face whenever I'm talking, you are so down on all of my choices every week.
I hate Lego.
Yeah, well, that's fine. That's fine.
Why do you hate Lego?
Because it's so weird all the time.
Well, you being a bellend.
You should hate not tidying.
I never had a set. I was never ever bought an actual Lego set. I had hand-me-down Lego. So all I ever was given was a box of Lego with all these different colours.
Oh, you never got bought it.
No.
And that's why.
That's why he hates it.
Anyway.
Okay, anyway.
He's little business, isn't he?
This might be after your time, but does anyone remember Boglins? Yes. I can send you a photo, Colin, but yeah, they were like little hand puppet goblin things that were in little cages, and I remember playing with them a lot as a kid.
Because in my Toys R Us in Southampton, where I used to go down to, they removed all the Marvel figures and put the fucking Boglins there in their space. So I hate them.
What?
Yeah, fair enough. But anyway, so
I do remember them.
I'm also going to touch on something really specific that you guys might not remember. But did anyone else have the Paul Daniels Magic set? I remember having.
You like it, but not a lot.
Yeah. I'm going to send a picture of it to you. Apparently, it's a big thing online now. Is this Paul Daniels Magic set? But. Looking at that picture, it's actually had loads of stuff in it. I loved
it. Shop, definitely.
Yeah, I had that.
Why does he look like Gollum in it?
Because he looked like Gollum all the time. But my number four is going to be the Tracy Island that I built while watching Blue Peter. Yeah. I remember them showing it twice, but yeah, I built it with my mum, and I was so proud of it. I had it probably like 3 years. It probably survived, survived playing with basic repairs.
Brilliant.
But I remember the way that they built it was that you could play it with all of the actual toys, so it was made to the same scale. And I don't know actually how they got away with it when you think about it, because whatever the company was that made Thunderbird's toys had released a Tracy Island, and effectively all they'd done was taken the blueprints off that and shown you how to make it for free, which is kind of crazy.
Saying, this is really expensive and hard to get.
Yeah,
make your own version.
Yes, it's like. But it was. You could play with all of the toys with it.
We're going to do it for the Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance car now. Hey, don't worry about Hasbro spending 350 quid.
Yeah, make it out of paper mache and cups and stuff. So I remember making that. I loved it. And because for me, when I was at a certain point in my childhood, Thunderbird 2 was always the holy grail of toys at that point for me, especially because
favourite ship.
I always liked it because it was a twofer. Because you always you could have Thunderbird 4 inside of it as well. Drops its load, dumps its load into the sea.
It and drop it love it.
So Tracy Island has some really, really important memories for me, especially making it. probably more so than playing with it, really.
Yeah.
But the fact that I got a lot of love out of that toy, having not spent a penny on it, and my mum probably having spent 30 or 40 quid on paper plates and other crap that we could make it.
What I love, all three are number ones, are all based on personal things about, you built yours with your mum, your nan made you Banana Man, and my mum queued for literally an entire day to get me the one toy that I really wanted, to make sure that was, because, I'm not being funny, at that age, it would have been a devastating Christmas, because you accept that Father Christmas is going to get you what you're asking for. But yeah, so, it's great that is actual proper nostalgia over toys.
It is. It is.
Great choice.
But that's me. I haven't really got a lot else on my list that's worth mentioning. So bring it home, Paul.
I did wonder if either of you two would have had Mask, because my brother had Mask. Do you remember they were
Hideous Kid film, the film with the kid's face?
No. Yeah, yeah.
You do a toy of that.
They all the vehicles. It was some action, some other. I can't remember.
I remember Miles, Mayhem, and Venom.
Yeah, that's it. They were baddies. There was a truck, a plane, and a helicopter.
The bike that turned into a helicopter.
Yeah, and then they were the little people figures, and then they put a mask on themselves when they got into the. It was a bit Thunderbirdsy, but they were. But my brother had them, so they were out of my era.
They were cool. Were cool. But they were almost like they were sort of trying to be Transformery, because the vehicles changed from they almost had a stealth mode and then an attack mode.
Yeah.
Cool.
So they were on my honourable mentions, and Transformers were on my honourable mentions, and Action Man was on my honourable mentions as well. But that's a good list.
It's not really my toy, but I loved them. Was the Gem dolls.
The Gem dolls.
Gem in a hologram. I mean, I loved the bloody cartoon. And my sister
a lot of foreshadowing you playing with them.
And all the dolls came with tapes of the songs. And I would play with them. I will admit I played with them because they were cool. And they did cool stuff. Like Jen, because Jen was basically a superhero. She had
sure, you justify it however you want, mate. It's all good.
And the songs were wicked. Me and my sister used to sing them all the time.
While she was eating sausages before your toys.
That mouth wasn't full of fucking Action Man figures.
I will say, there was, it's not on my honourable mentions, but it just popped into my head. There was a point in the 80s and 90s where the toys you got in Happy Meals were actually toys that were worth playing with as well.
Shall I tell you, here's another wow. I've never ever bought a Happy Meal or had one bought for me.
Really?
Never, ever.
Oh, that makes me unhappy. Oh.
Well, didn't bother me.
It doesn't bother me either.
But it's weird. I've never ever.
That is your I've never seen Raiders of the Lost Ark moment, isn't it?
It is. The thing is, if we bought you a Happy Meal now, it'd be so disappointing and anticlimactic. You'd get a book in it or something.
Yeah, they do.
The old ones, the boxes themselves would turn into mini play sets.
Yeah,
you cut them out and you create a little, a little set.
I got an at a snow speeder. I got a Millennium Falcon, and I got
a Happy Meal.
Yeah. Bit by bit.
Bloody hell! Why didn't I get one?
There were Transformers in them at one point. They used to get you'd have a Big Mac, and then it would transform into a robot. Little toys.
Yeah. Cool.
Anyway, they were cool little toys.
That's good as well. Yeah. And I was going to go right back to the Binatone original video game, which was just two sticks going beep beep.
I love that.
I played that for hours.
Yeah, I played that for ages.
I played for absolute hours.
You were so old.
I'm so old. And then we went up and did scripture.
That was good. I enjoyed that. I remember Dad bringing it home.
Yeah. Me and my dad and my brother played for hours.
But we didn't have it till it was well old. It was already well old by the time we got it.
Oh yeah, no, I was space age. Obviously, I was in at the forefront, being older, in at the front.
But, yeah, that was our first foray into it. And then we got Commodore 64.
Out of all those ranges, if you had all the money you could afford to do it now. Okay, Chris.
The money was no object. It's probably Ninja Turtles.
Okay.
Obviously, the Star Wars. But
yeah, and again, I'd like to fill up my Ghostbusters, but a different range. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually recollecting the vintage stuff as it is anyway.
You are, yeah. You're not missing out, are you?
But yeah, Transformers. I don't regret selling them, and to be fair, I didn't sell them till about 10 years ago. I made quite a bit of money on them, but I had shitloads. And now every time I go to Nerdbase, I look at them and think, I had that.
So popular now, aren't they? There's so many. I thought there was enough Ninja Turtles. Transformer toys are just...
It's crazy the amount of Transformers toys
I love the look of the newer ones. I'm so tempted to buy new ones because the ones that are really well designed as when they're actually the figures, and they look like the cartoon ones.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know... I have seen a range of Transformers that don't transform, which I just don't get. I know they're trying to make them look nice for the figure bits, but
I agree, but I would get those 12 on the shelf.
So, if you went down the road of collecting Transformers, would you need to buy 2 of every figure to have one in the robot position and one in the vehicle position?
That is the thing.
No,
yeah.
If money was no object, you would surely.
I would alternate my days,
okay.
and I'd give me something to do.
Oh my God!
Transform them all.
No.
So like once it would be all robots, and the next day they'd all be vehicles, and it just.
Would you do that every time?
To keep changing them.
It's like the HasLab Unicron, isn't it? You've got to have 2, surely. How do you keep that as one or the other?
Right, we need to stop this conversation.
Yeah, we really do.
That was cool. Thanks, guys. Really enjoyed that one.
Really cool.
Listeners, if you want to let us know your favourite childhood toys, we'll read them out. So you can message us on things. Instagram, probably the best one. But
yeah.
On email. I think we've got Twitter, I think. We have got Twitter.
Go to the London Super Comic Con and Beyond group and join that and find us there on the Nerdbase community group and find us there.
Or just go to nerdynostalgia.co.uk and hit the contact us button.
Buy one of Colin's prints and then in the notes section of the print you can put what your favourite toy was.
Yeah. Or buy one of my cards and then write in the card the favourite toy was and send it back to me.
Yeah, I think we've nailed it. I think we've nailed comments.
Anyway, what would you like to plug, Paul?
Well, only the normal Mighty Marvel show, but I would say, if you're listening to this, share this. Go and tell 10 other people about this show and put it on your own channels and share it and get loads of your friends listening in. And that is what I would much rather pimp out this episode. Thank you.
Yeah. Paul, Chris?
Yeah, similar. Look, go on to our Instagram. We're really trying to grow our social media exposure at the minute with, a lot of new posts. So please go on, liking one of our posts alone really, really does make a massive difference. You wouldn't believe it. But yeah, please just go on and engage with what we're doing. It really helps.
Share them in your story. Just spread the word.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And obviously go to nerdynostalgia.co.uk. There is other stuff in there. There's obviously my art store. There's links to Paul's Mighty Marvel mix. There's Marvel show, what it's called these days. There's all the cool stuff about us. There's my cosplay. There's interesting things. So go on there, have a look. There's a link to Paul Pigeon's Nerdy Nostalgia Toys store on eBay, so you can look at the toys he's selling. So just have a look on there. Possibly buy some of my art. That'd be nice. And some cards. All the new birthday cards are out now. Available online. Valentine's cards are available online now. Also available in Nerdbase if you're in the Wickford, Battlebridge area, Essex. So pop down there. Also get your tickets for London Film and Comic Con Spring, March the 4th, I think it is. I have a table. Come down and see me. It'll be wicked. Anything else, guys?
No, let's get Egon.
Okay, let's Egon. It's the new sign-off. We're going to be Egon out of here. I've been fantastic. You've been fantastic. Punch it, Chewy. Geronimo. Alonzi. Sashay away. I don't want to go. I don't know what else to say. Goodbye.